Good morning, everyone. If anybody is waiting when I'm explaining, if I'm unable to see, please let me know. And if somebody is having some problem to connect, so please, anything, you can unmute yours and you can tell me, okay? So I want to start today's topic. So I'm sharing my screen. Yeah, so we were talking about sensor networks, right? In the sensor network, some examples I was talking before, as in examples in the agriculture. So these different things, like example in the mines. So these are all things you can go through. So one simple slide I want to explain here. Example in the agriculture. So here you can see here you are seeing the farmer's house and how the devices are connected, and agriculture feed, any intruder or any somebody's something animal or anybody is coming to that agriculture field. So what happens here, the sensors will observe some intruder is entering to the agriculture field, so that message is going to send to the sync means here all the sensor nodes connected, right? So the all the sensor nodes which are connected, that information and that sensors, all the sensor nodes are going to be handled by the sync. Okay, so to that sync, the information is going to send this particular sensor, and that sensor is going to connect it with the GSM. That GSM will send the information to the farmer house or mobile phones, different devices. Okay, this is how the IoT in agriculture it works. And in mines also, I told you right before, when the person from any fire incident or something, so the particular alarm will ring. So these things are possible with the IoT. So these are just the applications. Wireless body area networks. These also I was talking body area networks in the body. They will, here you can see the image. If you see, you can understand here the blood pressure. The blood pressure of the particular person, the patient. The information is going to send to the backend through the network health monitoring system. To the health monitoring system, first the information is going, and through that the information reach the real-time database server, and to that, from that server, the doctor is going to get the information about the particular person. So it will be helpful when the person is in critical situation, like you see in the hospitals when somebody is not in a very critical situation, and some person is other person is in a critical situation, the person has to be operated. So it is very easy to get such kind of treatment, and it is possible with the IoT. That is what it means. So this is all about the wireless sensor networks. And one more thing, I already told you, multi-hop path. This wireless sensor network, it uses some multi-hop path. In the multi-hop path, what happens, um, when the destination node is very far, when the destination node is very far, so the information has to reach from one sensor to the destination node. It has to reach means, then what happens, the nearby it can send to the neighbor nodes. You can use the neighbor nodes. Through the neighbor nodes, it can pass the information to the destination node. So that is how it is. And the neighbor nodes will pass that information to the destination node, which is actually intended. Okay, this is how the process goes. And so this is all about, and you can see some of these applications of wireless sensor networks. So these are just the target tracking. You can do some, you can go through these slides, like target tracking. Here see the intruder, here the human is there. So this is going to be how the target is going to be tracked. Here you can see push based formulation and pole based formulation, guide formulation. So the different sensors, how they are tracking. So these are just in examples. It's not like you have to know. You can go through those things. Okay. So this is all about wireless sensor networks. Already we have seen some things in this wireless. What is wireless sensor networks? It consists of large number of sensor nodes and deployed over large area. And next here we have seen the multi-hop path and what is actually the components of this sensor node. You can understand how the things happens. First the sensing process happens, next what happens, the processing, storing, power it needs, and location finding unit, and transceivers and ADC. So these all things are required when it is sending some data and when we are working with the IoT. So, okay, so these are some examples of images we have seen. So this is complete about the sensor network. So we have seen before the communication protocol, sensor networks, and in this complete first module, we were talking completely about the introduction. Please listen. What are the things we have covered in the first module? We covered introduction, and we know more about this sensors, what are the types of sensors, and actuators, what actually actuation, what is the process, and communication, different communication protocols, and we have seen the functional blocks of IoT and the physical design, and challenges, different challenges we have seen. So different five types of challenges I think we discussed. So these are all the things we discussed in coming in sensor networks. So these are all things coming to our first module of IoT. Okay, so that is over. So today we go to the second module. Today we are going to talk about the second module. The second module is machine to machine communications. Okay, before we were talking the fundamentals of complete IoT we were talking, right? So here we see what is machine to machine communication. I think by the name you can understand. Communication between the machines are devices with computing and communication.
Excuse me, ma'am.
capabilities. Yeah,
There is someone waiting in the room. Can you let them in?
sure. Thank you so much. Please, likewise, you let me know so that your friends won't miss the class and they will get the attendance as well. So please do that. Thank you so much for letting me know. So we see here, we are talking about the machine to machine communication, right? We see what actually the machine to machine communication in this unit, what we are going to know, some different topics we are going to discuss here, actually how the machine to machine communication and what is the difference between the machine to machine communication. And here we are going to know one more thing, and what is interoperability, this thing, how these different machines can talk, and what are the things, what are the possibilities, these things. And apart from these things, in this second module we are going to talk about just introduction about the what is actually the Arduino programming. So that Arduino programming, just introduction, how this Arduino programming is going to help. Okay, so those things we are going to see in this second module. So we see here complete Arduino programming. Here we are not learning, just we are going to see the glance of that Arduino programming. Okay, so coming to this machine to machine communication, this machine to machine communication means it's a communication between machines or devices with a computing and communication facilities, and it's free of any human interventions. You see guys, here machine to machine communication is there, machine to human communication is there, and human to machine communication is there. There are three possibilities of communication. Okay, so in that we are talking machine to machine, and similar to industrial supervisory control and data acquisition systems, and it is designed like SCADA is designed for isolated systems. Isolated system means same standards, this devices which follow the same standards, same protocols. Okay, so already one thing is existed, that is SCADA is designed for the isolated system using proprietary solutions, whereas M2M is designed for the cross-platform integration. Okay, because here,
Hello.
yeah,
Hello, ma'am. Some of our friends are waiting, ma'am.
sure.
Can you just admit them? Okay.
Yes. So machine to machine is designed for the cross-platform integration. Okay, so the different, because one. Okay, so here one manufacturer, when he is designing some device, he use different standards and different protocols. Okay, other manufacturer he use different standards and protocols. So those when these two devices are interacting, so the interoperability has to be possible, because this device designed in different way, and this designed in different way. So they both has to cooperate, means the interoperability should be there. Okay, but if you see the olden SCADA, it is designed only for the isolated systems, means which maintains the same standards. Okay, here we see one diagram. Here alert how the machine to machine communication happens. Here you can see two cars. When the two cars crash, the alert is going to send. Here I want to tell you one example. See guys, here you are not, without human intervention, you are not here. Just you have to communicate, your machine has to communicate with other machine. Okay, so how it is possible? Here one example I give you. Here the two cars crash. After this crash, the message has to send directly to the ambulance or nearby ambulance, and the data has to send to the through the backend servers. It has to send to the hospital and doctor. So this has to be alerted, means in the car we need a sensor, the machine, so that the machine which called car, it has to speak to the other machine, like here ambulance or anything. Here without human intervention, the person is not sending, but the car, the machine, it is sending the message alert to the different devices, here in the car, in the ambulance, and in the hospital, and to the doctor. So likewise the message has to be reached. Okay, so this is how the machine to machine communication. And your fridge can talk to the milk vendor, so it can send the direct message. When you have a robot, it open your fridge. Okay, so that is a machine, right? So it open your fridge, refrigerator, and when it see that there is out of milk, the machine has to send message to the particular milk vendor. Either the fridge can send, either this robo can send. So that is the machine to machine. You are not sending any message, right? Your fridge, it automatically knows that you are out of milk, so it is sending the message. So this is how beautifully it works. Okay, so we see this M2M overview. Okay, how actually this machine to machine communication happens. First the sensors, this same in IoT. Sensors, it sends the data, and throughout the network, and what happens, the information extracted. After information extraction, the processing happens. After the processing, the particular action is going to be taken, the actuation process is going to be taken. Okay, so these are the different applications where M2M is working currently, like environmental monitoring, field protection, supply chain. So these are all things, healthcare. So these are all places this M2M is presently in use. And next we see some features, the large number of nodes, and low cost, energy efficient, small traffic. So these are all the features. And we see some of the node types. The M2M, it is having three types of nodes: low-end nodes, and mid-end nodes, and high-end nodes. Okay, we see actually low-end sensor nodes. Low-end sensor, it is using different nodes. Okay, so in that, first we are talking about the low-end sensor nodes. Okay, low-end sensor nodes means it is cheap and have low capabilities and static energy. Why this low-end sensor nodes? You can see the differences, like it is cheap and have low capabilities and static energy efficient and simple. Deployment has high density, resource constraint, basic functionalities it is having, like data aggregation, auto configuration, generally used for the environment monitoring applications. Coming to the mid end, it is more expensive than low end. Depends on your requirement. You can choose the different type of sensor node. Okay, in the M2M, coming to the M2M, depends on our requirement. We can choose low end, either mid end or high end. Okay, if you go with the mid end sensor nodes, what happens? More expensive than low end sensor nodes, and nodes may have mobility, fewer constraints with the respect to the complexity and energy efficiency, and it is having the functionalities like QoS support, quality of service support, and TCP IP. Typical application includes like somebody is waiting, I think. So these are all the functionalities of mid-end sensor nodes. And coming to the high-end sensor nodes, it has a low density deployment, able to handle multimedia data, and mobility is essential. Example is the smartphones, and generally applied to the ITS and military. Okay, so this one we see here, M2M ecosystem. Okay, so there before we were talking different types of sensor node we can use. There are mid end, high end, low end, right? So now we see, and before we have seen the overview. Okay, we are seeing now M2M ecosystem. How actually this ecosystem is working. M2M device providers. There are some device providers. This ecosystem. What are the things it needs? It needs the device providers. Device providers like sensor providers should be there, and some M2M devices we need, right? So the manufacturers we need, and internet service providers we need, and the platform providers we need, and service providers we need, and the service users. Okay, this is how this M2M ecosystem works, and M2M area network. Here you can see the device, how it is connected to the internet. Okay, through the gateway it is connected, and using the RESTful protocol. Okay, so it is connected to the internet, and through the internet, the platform provider, they are providing some device management, user management, data analytics. So in the platform, what happens? These all things, the processing of data happens, and next to what is happening, the data is going to reach to the user. Okay, so this is how the M2M area network. And next, M2M service platform. In this service platform, you can see there is a core network and device, user, application, access. Okay, so these all things in the same M2M area network. In the what happens, it is having core network, and it is on top of the core networks. We can see the device and the users and the application access. So this is service platform. Okay, device, it is particular device services we need, and the users like user profile management. What is happening in the device profile management, the device and M2M area network. In the different functionality, what are the things are happening? Coming to the user profile management, and what are the services they are getting, and authentication and charging applications. In the application, what is happening? Data collection, data control. In the access, what is happening? App management, app searching, and web portal. Okay, so different functionalities we can see here coming to the device, user, application, and it is completely, it is in the M2M area network. Okay, in the M2M area network, it is just a form of network here. In that core network, what are the things are happening here in the device, how it is going to be managed, and the user profile, how it is managing, and application managing, and access. So these all services are going to be taken care. Okay, so the complete thing we are calling area network, M2M area network, M2M device platform. In this device platform, it enables, I already was talking, this is one of the platform on the core network, right? So in this device platform, it enables the access to objects or devices connected to the internet, and registered devices create a database of objects, and manages device profiles, and provides the authentication, monitors the status of devices. So this one, like in the M2M device platform on top of the core network of M2M area network. Okay, so we see one more platform. We have M2M user platform. In this, what is happening? It managing user registration, modification, charging, inquiry. So these are the different functionalities this platform is forming. And next we see M2M application platform. In this, what is happening? It provides the integrated services based on device collected data sets, heterogeneous data merging from various devices. Yeah, we are receiving the heterogeneous data, not similar data, not homogeneous data. We are getting the heterogeneous data merging from various devices. Okay, collects, control, and process the data, and collection management. These all things are going to be happening in the application platform. And one more platform in the M2 area core network. What is the platform we have? M2M access platform. In this, it provides the app or web access environment, apps, links. So these all services going to be taken care by this M2M access platform, like app management, mapping function. Okay. So we see in this M2M we have IP based and non-IP based. Okay, so in the non-IP based, how the connection is going to be taken care. You can see here application layer, in the what is happening in the different layers, how they are connected. And so here we can have one more thing, IP based network. Okay, so IP based network, so each and every network, how the network is going to be transmitted. So those things here we can see, and there are different layers, how the different layers are connected. from machine to machine. Okay, so machine to machine, everything it is containing the same layers. Here we are talking only application layer, transport layer, and network layer. Okay, so what are the things we are using in the different layers? Coming to this IP based and non IP based, the same things. Okay, the same things, like IP based means without internet. Okay, without internet, this diagram. Okay, so what are the different protocols we are using? You can see transport layer, TCP, UDP, and coming to the network layer, IP. So these things. And so here we see this is with IP based network, with the internet. Okay, that is without internet M2M communication is possible, and with the internet M2M communication is possible. Okay, M2M area network management features. So these are the features of that network which we are using. M2M: fault tolerant, scalable, low cost and energy efficient, dynamic configuration, minimized management traffic. So we can see data centric application, emergency and real time. So this is all about the M2M communication. Okay, machine to machine. Okay, with internet you can connect, without internet you can connect. Okay, and the only without human intervention, the machine has to communicate with the other machine. Okay, so it only has to detect, okay, this the milk is out of then we have to send the message to the particular shop. Okay, because then it is sending the message. And when car crash, so that message has to be reached to the hospital. So likewise we have to design by using this without human intervention. Okay, so and there are different nodes, like in this you can use different types of sensor nodes, like low end, mid end, and high end. Okay, and IP based MTM we have, and non IP based MTM we have. Okay, so this is all about the MTM. We see some differences in this. I will show you. Wait a minute. Some differences actually. What is the difference between this M2M and okay, I'm presenting my screen now. Yeah, now you can see my screen. See here, we are talking about some of the important differences between the M2M and the IoT. Okay, this is the topic, differences between the machine to machine and IoT. Okay, so why we have to get these differences? What is the use? Because I told you IP based and non-IP based. Okay, so there is IoT which is completely IP based. With internet it possible. Okay, so that is how the M2M means. It's a machine to machine communication, machine to machine. IoT is the Internet of Things, and it is about direct machine to machine communication. It is about only sensor automation and internet platform. Okay, this is just directly we are talking about machine to machine. That's it. In IoT means it is having so many things, sensors, actuators, and internet. These all things are coming. Okay, coming to this M2M, it supports only point to point communication, right? Device to device it is connecting, machine to machine it is connecting. Okay, it supports the point to point communication. Okay, point to point means machine to machine. It supports cloud based communication. Coming to the IoT, it supports the cloud based communication. Yes, it's called cloud based communication. Why? Because the sensors data, where it is going, it is reaching the cloud. Right, the data is going to store in the particular cloud, and through the cloud we are getting the data. The data is not storing in our local system. The data is going to store in the cloud. Right, through the cloud, the actuators are, after getting the action from the cloud, the actuators are going to perform the action. So it supports the cloud based communication. Device not necessary rely on internet. Okay, here in this M2M devices not needed to, like it is having the IP based and non-IP based, right? So the device not necessarily rely on internet, but here coming to the IoT, the devices necessarily has to rely on internet. And coming to this M2M, it mostly based on hardware. This is a machine to machine, means the hardware manufacturing is very important, okay? Because it has to communicate with one another, right? So mostly based on hardware. It is based on both the hardware and the software, okay? The sensors manufacturing and actuators manufacturing is important, and the communication of those things is also very important. So the software also very important. Machine normally communicates with the single machine at a time, okay? The machine can normally communicate with the single machine at a time, and many users can access, okay? Here it can approximately, it can talk to one or two, but here what happened, the data which is stored in the cloud, any person can access at any time. They can access anywhere in the world, they can access, right? Your Gmail data is storing in the cloud, right? So wherever you are, you can access your Gmail service, right? Anywhere in the country, you can open your Gmail through the internet, okay? It is not required that you are in US or India. Wherever you are, you can open your Gmail, the data is same. So that is where it is stored. It is not stored in your personal system or in your laptop, right? Where it where it is stored, actually it is stored in the cloud. So that's the reason you can access with any number of devices, and any device, any kind of device you can use. And here you see it uses either proprietary or non-IP based protocols, okay? Either, but it uses the only IP based protocols. Coming to the IoT, okay? It is for only business to business type applications. It is for business to business, and it is for business to consumer business type applications, okay? And limited number of devices can be connected at a time here, okay? But here more number of devices can connected at a time, okay? And it doesn't support open APIs. It supports the open APIs. Coming to this here, coming to this M2M, here some more differences also I want to tell you guys. In M2M, communication is used for monitoring and control of few infrastructures. And coming to the IoT, it is used for the address everyday need of human. And next we have some, here we can see here the M2M examples, Bluetooth, Zigbee. These are some of the examples of this one. And coming to this, here you can see this non-linear value chain it using, okay? Some mobile to non-linear value chain. Why I am saying, this can send data from mobile. You can send data to car, AC and light, okay? So you can operate those things with the mobile. But here coming to the linear value chain, what is happening, it is just point to point it is communicating. That is why it is a linear value chain, okay? So this is how. I'm coming to this is using it here. It is using the different protocols like Bluetooth, Zigbee in the M2M. Coming to this IoT, it is using the HTTP, COAP, this kind of protocols, okay? So already we have seen. So these are the some of the differences between the M2M and the IoT, okay? So we see the next thing. So we see this here, we can see here. Interoperability. Okay, I'm talking about M2M. I already told you the different manufacturer design the different devices, and the devices has to talk. Means the interoperability. Interoperability in the sense the communication should be there in between those devices. Then only all these things, the machine to machine communication is possible. So we see what are the challenges in current challenges in IoT, large scale of cooperation, the cooperation and the cooperation and the coordination of millions of distributed services are required on internet. This is one of the challenge. All the things are completely depends on the internet. And global heterogeneity, heterogeneous IoT devices and their subnets, IoT devices and the heterogeneous IoT devices we have, because the IoT devices are designed by different persons and they use different standards. Okay, the global heterogeneity, unknown IoT device configuration, because we don't know what the device, but the different configuration modes for IoT devices which come from unknown owners. Okay, and semantic conflicts. The data from one sensor and other sensor which is designed same for the temperature, but the data in the format which they are sending, it will be different. The semantic conflict, different processing logics applied to same IoT network device or applications. Okay, so this is a current challenge. And what is interoperability? Interoperability is a characteristics of a product or a system whose interfaces are completely understood to work with other products or systems present or future in either implementation or access without any restrictions. Means the interoperability has to be possible to communicate with the two devices. Okay, so what are the things? Communicate meaningfully and exchange data or services. Okay, so that when the interoperability is possible between the two devices, what happens? They can communicate meaningfully and they can exchange the data and services. Okay, so next we see why interoperability is important. Why? To fulfill the IoT objectives, like physical objects can interact with any other physical objects, and any device can communicate, and machine to machine communication, seamless device integration with IoT. And why interoperability is required? Because heterogeneity in the devices, because we don't know, unknown owners of devices. So different wireless communication protocols they use, and different wired communication protocols like Ethernet protocols they use, and different programming languages used in computing systems like Java, C, C++, and different hardware platforms they use. So there are wide variety of things which are used, these kind of things. So then the interoperability is very important. Okay, so next we see why interoperability is required. Because different operating systems, as an example for sensor node, it is using sensor nodes. What kind of operating system it is using? Do you know that? I already told you. Most popular operating system the sensor nodes are using TinyOS. Okay, and likewise we have so many different things also, SOS, Mantis OS, and Red OS. So these all things. And as an example for personal computer, what are the things we have? Windows, Mac, Unix, and Ubuntu, right? So these are in the system which we are using. In the sensors we are using the different operating system. Don't think that these operating system which we are using in the same in the sensors. Okay, different databases we are using, DB2, MySQL, and Oracle, so the SQLite, and so many things are there, and different data representations, different control models, and syntactics. So that is the reason the why interoperability is required. Different types of interoperability is there. Okay, so again we have seen why before we have seen that, right, why interoperability is important. Here we are going to see different types of interoperability. Okay, one is the user interoperability and the device interoperability. Interoperability problem between the user and the device, that is a user interoperability. Coming to the device interoperability problem between two different devices. Example of device and user interoperability. Okay, see this example, please observe carefully. You know here in the diagram, if you see device A and the device B and the user we are seeing. Okay, and the device A, it is from device A, the CCTV which is located in India. Okay, and the device B, the CCTV service is a CCTV, and it is located in the Tokyo, Japan. Okay, so here the language which we are using is the Hindi, and here we are using in the coming to the device B, the language which we are using is the Tokyo, Japanese we are using. Okay, coming to this American, the person user can understand the English. Okay, so see here A, B, U. Okay, A is the CCTV and B is the CCTV, U is the user. Okay, use Hindi, Japanese, and English languages respectively. User U wants real-time services of CCTV camera from the device A and the device B. So there is the interoperability should be there, right? So that is the user to user interoperability. Means user has to understand both the languages, because the user is from the US. He can understand English. So the interoperability has to be there. You know, this device has to send him whatever the data the device is sending, it should be understandable. Okay, So there should be some translators, okay? How they can understand and all we can see later, but these kind of problems are occurring, okay? This is a one type of user interoperability, and this is the example of device and user interoperability. I already told you, don't get confused. We are seeing the different types of interoperability. Before we have seen the user is unable to understand the devices, that is user interoperability. Now we are talking about the device and user interoperability, okay? Using IoT, here you are seeing, right, the example of device interoperability. User wants real-time service of CCTV camera from the device A and the B. Okay, this device A and the B, and here and next to the problems. What are the problems are coming? We have seen the device and user interoperability. Here, what are the problems are coming by using this kind of thing? Problems are listed below. The user does not know the a device A and B. First, he doesn't know the devices, both the devices he doesn't know. And devices A and B are different in terms of syntactic and semantic notions. Okay, because the syntax and all different, because the language is different. Okay, that is what I mean. Therefore, it is difficult to find CCTV device. And next, user you can't understand the service provided by A and B. Okay, because they are using the different semantic and syntactic notions. So that is the reason the user cannot understand the language of the services of provided by the A and B. Similarly, A and B do not mutually understand each other. So these are the problems are happening with the devices. Why the interoperability should be needed? Because of these reasons. Okay, these are the things. When the scenario, some example scenario, if you see, these are the problems are coming. So that is the reason we need the interoperability, user interoperability. The following problems needed to be solved. Okay, so we see here the following problems need to be solved: device identification and the categorization for discovery and syntactic interoperability. What are the problems are coming in the user interoperability? Device identification, because the device is unable to identify, because this is made by different owner, right? So, and the syntactic operability and the semantic operability. So these are because they are using the different syntactic and semantic notions. So that is the reason the user unable to understand the language of the particular device, the particular service the user is unable to understand. And the device identification and the categorization discovery. Here we see here. So first thing we are going to talk now the problem of device identification and the categorization of discovery. And device identification and categorization of discovery, there are different solutions for this. This is one of the problem we observed, right, in the user interoperability. So the problem how to solve it, device identification. So here there are different solutions for generating unique address. So we can use IP address and we can use device identification. In this we can use EPC, electronic product codes, and universal product code. So these are different things we can use, uniform resource identifier. Okay, device identification and categorization. In this one more thing we are going to see, there are different device classification solutions. Okay, so for device identifications we are this is how we are giving the device identification. Somebody is using IP address and some people are using URI, and you can use UPC, EPC. So these are different identifications we can give for a device. And so the device, there are different device classification solutions which are given by United Nations Standard Products and Services Code, an open global multi-sector standard for efficient, accurate, flexible classification of products. And one more thing, ECISS, the standard is for classification and clear description of cross-industry products. So they have to maintain such a solution. Okay, like these are the solutions which are provided by some particular organizations. If they follow, they can at least the device identification problem can go. So syntactic interoperability for device interaction. Second thing, second problem, what is the syntactic interoperability, right? The interoperability between devices and the device user in terms of message formats. And the message format, from what is this thing actually syntactic interoperability? It is the interoperability between the devices and the device user in terms of message format. And the message format from a device to user is understandable for the user's computer. On the other hand, the message format from the user to the device is executable by the device. And some popular approaches for these kind of things. What is the popular approach? Service-oriented computing, web services, RESTful web services, and open standard protocols. And these are the things which are used by this manufactures closed protocols such as Z-Wave, but these standards are incompatible with each other. Okay, what are the things we are talking? The popular approaches in these things. So those are incompatible with each other. So here some middleware technology we have to use, software middleware bridge. Okay, so for that, what is the solution? They have to use, like, you know, guys, you know only Telugu. Okay, so some person knows only Hindi, so the both person has to communicate, means there should be some translation, right? The person, other person has the who knows the Hindi and Telugu, they can only the translate. So likewise, we need here middleware technology, software middle. So the what are the some different types of middleware technology we see here? Software middleware bridge we need, and dynamically map physical devices with different domains, and based on the map, the devices can be deployed and controlled remotely. Cross-context syntactic interoperability, collaborative concept exchange using XML syntax. Okay, these are the things we need for the syntactic interoperability. Okay, so we are going to see now semantic interoperability. So what is actually semantic interoperability? The interoperability between the devices and device user in terms of messages meaning. Okay, the message in terms of messages meaning, and the device, that is messages format. This is a messages meaning. Okay, syntactic is a messages format, and this is a messages meaning. The device can understand the meaning of user's instruction. Okay, the format it can understand, but meaning it cannot understand in the syntactic. But here the device can understand the meaning of user's instruction that is sent from the user to the device. These are all the syntactic and semantic and device identification. When a person is designing a thing, he will follow all the things. Okay, similarly the user can understand the meaning of device's response sent from the device. Okay, so some popular approaches for this: ontology. What are the current things they are using? Okay, ontology, device ontology, physical domain ontology, estimation ontology. Ontology based solution is limited to the defined domain. Okay, so we see what is happening. And so we are using the collaborative conceptualization theory, and this approach is applicable for different domains. Okay, so what is the approach they are using? We see here there is the collaborative sign. Okay, the representation of a collaborative sign, to that we are calling is a shortcut cosine. Okay, so here we are seeing the cosine of an object A, B, C, D. Here where A is a cosine internal identifier. Here how they are, the semantic interoperability, how it looks like. You see here A is a device. Okay, it needs the identifier, and B is the natural language, and C is the context of A and the particular message, and D is the definition of the object. Okay, so see, this is how the message is going to be formatted. The device to device it has to communicate, means this is the semantic interoperability. Okay, so one device is using like this A, B, C, so it is having some different meaning, like A means identifier, B means the language, and C means the context, and D means the definition. So other device, how it can understand. So this is why we have to follow the semantic interoperability of one device, and other semantic interoperability of other device has to be interact, means has to be understandable, means. So these are the some approaches we need. Okay, so here what is going to be happen? 1, 2, 3, 4. Here you can see an example. 1, 2, 3, 4. It is the identification of identification of A, and this English is this natural. B is a natural language, that is the English, and C is the CCTV. The complete the device actually, what is the service? It is the what is the message actually? It is a CCTV, and the definition means the device type. It's a camera type. Okay. So this is how the semantic interoperability looks like, and the device So next problem, we were talking about the interoperability types, right? That is a one type of thing. This is a completely what are the problems comes in a user interoperability. Okay, so we are now going to talk about the device interoperability problem. User interoperability we have seen till now. Now we are going to see device interoperability. In this device interoperability, what is happening? solution approach for device interoperability, universal middleware bridge. Okay, this is I told you right before, we need the middleware technology. So UMB, it solves the seamless interoperability problems, and universal middleware bridge, it creates the virtual maps, and it creates the compatibility among the devices. Okay, see, we see here it is consisting of two things. One is the UMB core and the UMB adapter. Okay, in this diagram you can see here different power line, Ethernet, IEEE 1394 you are seeing, right? So here the different sensor nodes are connected, camera, light, and water. So the different things are connected to the IoT. So the different things are connected. So how these things are working? Here you can see this UMB. It is consisting of core UMBC. Here in the top in the diagram you can see UMBC, and it is handling the routing table, where to send the data, particular thing, like it is going to on or off the tap, or is the camera sensor, the object detection, it is has to handle everything, the routing table it maintains the UMB. Okay, and UMB adapter. Okay, we have one UMB adapter. Okay, it is going to handle all the lines which are connected. See here what actually it does. UMB adapter. Okay, UMB adapter, it converts the physical devices. Okay, the physical devices into virtually abstracted one, as described by universal device template. Okay, and it is a, here you can see that here UDP consists of global device ID, and it is consisting of functional ID, function ID, and global action ID, and event ID, and global parameters. Okay, it is having different things. UDT consists of different things. This one here you can see UDT. Okay, UMB adapter. Here UMB adapter, it converts the physical devices into virtually abstracted, and UDT consists of global device and something. And next you can see UMB adapters translate the local middleware message into global metadata message. Okay, so we see UMB core, actually what it does. This is the major role of the UMB core, is routing the universal metadata using the destination or any other UMB adapters. Okay, so here you can see how UMB A to UMB core, and again UMB adapters, how the data is transmitting and all. Here you can see this is a device interoperability. Okay, in this it is containing this middleware bridge. Okay, this middleware bridge, how it is operating, how it is changing the data, here we are going to see. Okay, so it is detecting and configuration, it is happening, and they create virtual devices and device online status device, like it has to create the device in virtual. Okay, because if it is the exact device, it cannot understand different manufacturer. Here one conclusion I want to give, because device is different, we are not changing the device, they are not following anything. The device, when the device is completely different, how you are going to handle? Because using this device interoperability, how the device, it is having the middleware. Okay, the device is consisting some middle device itself, it is having some middleware, so the middleware is going to connect with the other device. Okay, how it is going to, in that it is having some universal middleware bridge. Okay, all the devices are maintaining universal middleware bridge. Okay, the first, the middleware, it detects and the configures, it detects the device and it configures and it creates a virtual device. Okay, the device online status, device ID. So these all things are going to send to the UMB core, and the UMB core, it notifies the online status or something, it is going to send to the again UMB adapter. Okay, here the process likewise it is going to connect with the other devices. Okay, when the new devices are plugged in, what happens? This is the flow actually happens. Okay, the data is going to be monitored. How the data is going to be monitored? This is the UMB adapter of one device and the UMB adapter of other device. Okay, in between this core is exchanging, right? So the local message and conversation, local control monitoring message, like when the two cars crash, from one car UMB adapter, it sends the message to the other car UMB adapter. Okay, suppose you see the local message like car crash, the message it reached, like which device it reached to the ambulance or to the hospital. So this is how the data is controlled and monitored. Okay, so okay guys, this is all about the device interoperability. Okay, so to perform this kind of interoperability, what we need some middleware. Okay, with the middleware we need, it can be possible. So guys, for now we are done with the 3 topics, like machine to machine communication, and we have seen the differences between the machine to machine coming to the IoT, and we have seen the interoperability in the Internet of Things. Okay, the next topics we are going to see some interesting topics. Please do join in other classes too. So for today, please give me your attendance. If you don't understand anything, please let me know that you are not understanding. Okay, so that I can go in a different way. But don't think that what ma'am is saying we are not understanding. Please don't get adjust. Uh, Wait a minute. Uh, 550, 503, 503, 550, and yeah, 505.
505 present, ma'am.
Okay, 508,
Present, ma'am.
512,
Ma'am, 503 present, ma'am.
yeah, I got it. 520, 512, 520, and 523.
520 present, ma'am.
Okay,